Hey guys, and welcome back to Book Read Friday. Today we're getting businessy and we're going to go through a few fantastic books about finance and economics. So let's roll the intro and let's see what books we have today. As always, I hope you enjoyed this mini intro for this series, and let's get to the point. A lot of students who watch my channel, although I'm a medical student and studying engineering as well, I feel as if a lot of you study other subjects, and I get quite a few comments asking for advice for other subjects, such as economics, for history, and even things like natural sciences. So Book Read Friday is a fantastic opportunity for me to share books that I've read in fields that are simply not about medicine and engineering. Of course, I do share a few books that are fantastic to read if you're applying for medicine or engineering, but for all of you out there who want to study something through finance or economics or something businessy, I'll cover your back as well, and I'll recommend some books today. So let's get to it, and we'll go through our first book of the day, Barbarians at the Gate. So although I wasn't sure about this book at the beginning, I did some reading around the topic of this book, which is sort of this thing called a leveraged buyout. And it's based on a real life story of a company, RGR Nabisco, and how it sort of met its fate at the end in the 1980s. So before I even read the book, I had seen this book being recommended on a YouTube channel, and I wasn't sure about the topic of this book. They said it was a thriller business book, and I was like, well, how can business and thriller sort of go hand in hand? So before I actually read the book, I did some research into what this book was about, and this book is about this thing called leverage buyout. Having understood a bit about the background of the book, I read it, and it was definitely worth it. So this book revolves around one of the most notorious business deals in the 20th century, which, like I said, led to the downfall of RGR Nabisco, a massive conglomerate company in the US and around the world. And RGR Nabisco, you may have heard about them. They are the ones who produce like biscuits, and Nabisco actually stands for, I think, the National Biscuit Company. This company underwent this thing called a leverage buyout. So in basic terms, a leverage buyout is when you buy another company using money that you've borrowed. And most of this money that you use to buy this company is borrowed. It's, financed. The specific thing about LBOs is that they have a very high ratio of debt to equity. And in short, an LBO is a fantastic way for, top executives to make a lot of money upon the sale of the company. But technical terms aside, this book kind of follows the CEO and his decisions that ultimately led to the leverage buyout of RGR Nabisco. And it's one of the most well-known business disasters in sort of recent times. And what I love about this book is that, for those of you who want to go into finance and economics and, business, it's a brilliant sort of case study as to, how not to run a company. And also into like the technical terms of, leverage finance and business acquisitions. A lot of you will go into things like investing if you're watching this video. And so, a lot of investment hedge funds and investment bankers even, part of their job is buying out other companies. And so, this book is based upon the selling and the purchase of this company. So the benefit of reading this book is that not only are you, reading a brilliant book, you're also sort of collecting case studies that you can use in interviews and when you're applying to internships, and you can talk about, you read about this company and how it went wrong and how the decisions made weren't the best, and that's quite useful to have. Let's get on to the next one. So this next one is What They Teach You at Harvard Business School. So this book I bought when I was on a transfer through the Doha airport in Qatar. It's an account of, someone who goes to Harvard to study an MBA. For those of you who don't know what an MBA is a Master's in Business Administration. And an MBA is the sort of pinnacle degree that you do before becoming, a hedge fund manager or a, lead investor at a bank, a managing director, or even, like a CEO of a massive company. And MBAs are important degrees because they sort of polish up a person's ability to manage a business, to make business decisions. So although this book isn't too technical about an actual MBA and the sort of businessy stuff behind, business administration, it's more of an account again about the author and his experience of studying the MBA at one of the best business schools in the world, Harvard. The reason why I think you should read this is because although it's less technical, it sort of helps you think about, how someone going through such a, business intense degree, what their emotions are like, what they're thinking, what they're perceiving about the surrounding people. The people who do the Harvard MBA, they are going to be the next CEOs of the massive banks in the world, of the massive, industrial organizations in the world. So, this person's insight is very, very useful to help you understand what the environment is like whilst doing an MBA, sort of the lifestyle of it all. So it's, again, a good book, a nice introduction into a degree that you hopefully will do, a degree arguably known as the degree of millionaires, because practically, if you look at the postgraduate salaries of those who do MBAs, they are pretty much always millionaires, even billionaires for that case. Anyway, right, this book aside, the last book is a super book, How to Speak Money by John Lanchester. It's a book which I really found useful because it introduced me to the basic terms in finance and economics. I feel as if in this sort of section, this sector, there's a lot of jargon. You need to know about a few nicknames, a few acronyms they use, and a few like funny terms that they use in finance and economics. And so what this book does is, in a very sort of light-hearted manner, it introduces you to the definitions of these different words. It's alphabetically organized, and it's really good at sort of making you feel more comfortable reading these sorts of terms. And particularly those of you who are in year 10, year 11, year 12, applying to internships or work experience placements or even interviews for subjects, related to finance and economics, understanding the jargon is very important, because if you sort of know what different words mean, when you watch movies, when you read books, when you read even like Financial Times articles, you understand more of what you're reading. And, once these words, once this terminology becomes part of your vocabulary, when you go to interviews, when you go to internships, you'll use this jargon naturally, making you seem more confident and more competent, and thus more deserved of that place. So, again, a very simple book and a very good introduction to finance terminology. And to be fair, you don't have to, actually for any of these books, you don't need to want to go into finance or economics just to read these. If you're like me doing medicine and engineering and, ultimately want to make some sort of money in life, you need to understand how, the system works. And these books are introductions into how the system works. And so let's say you do one day start a business and you want to, grow this business into a multi-million-pound business. Then, having this sort of knowledge that you've read, knowing the terminologies, reading the case study of someone who's done a degree that you hopefully will do if you are going to have a massive business, all of this is very useful in the long term. And so these books, in terms of business, are absolutely fantastic. And as always, I recommend you get out there, you buy these books and you read them, and come back and let me know what you thought of these books in the comments. If you haven't yet done so, go follow me on Instagram. And if you enjoyed it, do like this video. And if you really enjoyed it, please do subscribe. It really does help me out. So thanks guys, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Bye-bye.